Hello, everyone. This is Daryl Guberman, CEO of Guberman PMC LLC, a quality consulting firm here in Connecticut. You can reach me at 203-556-1493. And today is very important, ladies and gentlemen. And here it is. Royalty, Various, and the Price of Silence. How federal power was sold to private accreditation. Ladies and gentlemen, and I say this with a heavy heart, you must listen to it, even if it's 20 minutes long, but it won't be. And here it is. Today, I sit before you, not with speculation, but with documented proof that federal authority has been quietly sold off to private interests under the guise of standards accreditation and nonprofit legitimacy. Let me introduce two names. The first one is Phil Matheson. Phil Matheson, I will get into this, but I want to show you Phil. He's a DHS employee, Department of Homeland Security. They make a fancy schmancy title, Executive Director, Office of Standards, U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and he makes $260,000 plus his federal salary. Sitting on a DHS's subcommittee at one time was the Vice President of ANSI-ANAB, that was a Randy Dodery. That was 2017-18, and he was also the chairman and principal on the IAF 990 tax form. The IAF was founded by ANSI and ANAB and their sister organization ILAC, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation in Australia. They are associations of accreditation bodies, both national and international, equivalent to ANSI-ANAB. And also ANSI-ANAB are underwriters for both IAF and ILAC members. That means they take full legal responsibility for both systematic and product failure. One of the worst things, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to some other person soon, it's going to be Gordon Gillerman. One of the worst things is that in 2015, Randy handed over leadership of the IAF to a communist Chinese national, Zhao Jinwu, who's been involved with our quality and global quality since 1994. Do you find anything wrong with that? Anything wrong with it? Oh my goodness. But anyway, we continue on. And by the way, that guy is mandated by his country of origin, Communist China, to take our data to the China National Intelligence Law, Article number 7. Not only that, but he was the chief executive of the China National Accreditation Services that certified the laboratory in Wuhan, China. You know that laboratory that said the virus escaped? ANSI and ANAB, vice president of laboratory accreditation, confessed to the escape. But that's for another video. You've heard me say it many times. Phil Matheson, executive director of Office of Standards at the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And now you have Gordon Gillerman at NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Department of Commerce runs this. NIST also runs the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which is 50 strong in 50 states, getting both state and federal funding. And you know what? You know what goes to the suppliers and the companies in those states? Oh, nothing, because they absorb it all. Management gets 64.85% of those funds, both state and federal. On top of it, to make the matters worse, most of those people don't know crap. And I'm going to tell you that. If they don't like it, too bad. So you have Gordon Gillerman. And by the way, the supplier, the companies get the bitter dregs. What is it, about 26%, 30% maybe? What they get. And by the way, I have a letter from a woman who worked there. A wonderful lady. She sent it to me. She said, Daryl, she says, I worked for an MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership. She says, and you know what we used to do in the office? We used to jokingly we would give money to the one not-for-profit, another one not-for-profit, and they trade money back and forth. And she said, we call it money laundering. You hear that, government? Anyway. So Gordon Gillerman, Director of Standards Coordination Office at the National Institute of Standards and Technology under the Department of Commerce. These men were not just federal employees. They were gatekeepers of national standards, entrusted with protecting the integrity of our certification systems. But instead of serving the public, they were paid by the very private organizations they were supposed to oversee. Phil Matheson, $262,841 from the American National Standards Institute, and its affiliate, the American National Standards Institute, American National Crediting Board. While still drawing a federal salary, Gordon Gillerman was getting paid $120,000, the same network, while serving as a senior official on NIST. Now ask yourself, why would a private accreditation body pay federal officials six-digit figures? Because ANSI-ANAB wanted access, they wanted influence, and they got it. They embedded these officials into their boardrooms. They used their titles to gain federal legitimacy, and they built a certification empire that now stretches across the borders from International Accreditation Forum to its sister body in Australia, the International Laboratory Accreditation Cooperation. These are not just associations. They are underwriters. ANSI-ANAB are underwriters for the IAF and ILAC. They set the rules. They control the gates. ANSI-ANAB, their equivalent, IAF and ILAC, are associations of accreditation bodies, both national and international, and they are equivalent to ANSI-ANAB. They set the rules, they control the gates, and they do it with a federal faces on private payrolls. Now let's talk about the camouflage. When these payments were first exposed by Daryl Guberman, ANSI and ANAB labeled them royalty payments. Sounds innocent, right? Like a musician getting paid for a song. But here's the truth. A royalty is money paid for using someone's intellectual property, like a logo or patent. It's not a payment for services. It's not a payment for sitting on a board. It's not a payment for shaping national standards. So when you pay a federal official for their time, their influence, their decisions, that's not a royalty. That's compensation. And under 18 U.S. Code 209, it's illegal, ladies and gentlemen. But they didn't stop there. When the royalty label became too risky because of Daryl Guberman, they switched to a new disguise, various payments. Now, what does various mean? Nothing. It's a blank check. It's a way to say, don't ask. It's like handing someone $262,000 and saying, it's for fluff. Imagine your child asks, what did you buy with that money? And you say, various. That's not an answer. That's a cover-up. And the IRS. Here it is. They accepted it. They processed the Form 990 titled Return of Organization Exempt from Income Tax. They let ANSI-ANAB file their payments under vague labels while recipients walked away with untaxed influence. And possibly it might be because the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, they work hand in hand together, some of these people. So I ask again, is the IRS colluding with ANSI-ANAB? Maybe not directly, but by accepting these filings without question, they are enabling a system that launders federal authority through nonprofit status. This is not unethical. This is not just unethical, it is insidious. It's systematic. And it's costing us, our standards, our safety, and our sovereignty. Randy Doherty, former head of the International Accreditation Forum, helped hand over global compliance to this cartel. He helped build a network where national and international accreditation bodies are indistinguishable, where private interests wear federal badges, and public trust is traded for private gain. This is not a conspiracy, ladies and gentlemen. It's a structure, and it's time we dismantle it. Because when another plane goes down, and so help me God it will, it's all a mess. Not just in aerospace either. It affects automotive, electronics, medical, and guess what? We have the proof. So we must stand it up and count. And remember this, as David Foster Wallace said, the truth will set you free, but not until Daryl Guberman is done with you. And as Dwight D. Eisenhower said, it is not the size of the dog in the fight that counts, but remember this, it is the fight in the dog that counts. 203-556-1493.